invite Ashutosh Senger. Ashutosh Senger is an advocate on record at the Supreme Court, and um, he deals with environmental law, litigation, policy advisory, and ESG matters. So, over to you, Ashutosh.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, everyone. So, should I share the slides or are you sharing the slides?
I
Perfect.
mean, it's okay. Even you can.
Fair enough. No, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Anji, Anji. Someone can control the slides. At the outset, I'd like to thank the Alumni Association for the invitation. And thank you, Ambassador, for the welcome address. And also a special thanks to Avinash, sir. You were genuinely coordinating so amazing. I felt really sorry, responding tad late. Uh, so the topic that I was given is the EPR in plastic waste regime. Um, I was allotted 7 minutes. I thought, let's try and deconstruct it. So I wanted to take you all through a scenario like the birthday party. So next slide, please. So just imagine you're hosting a grand birthday party and guests come in. They bring in gifts with a plastic packet wrapped. You have beautiful food caterers coming in, but the food is packed in plastic package. We all had a great time, but what's at the end of the party? It's a mess. This is the kind of mess it looks like. Now, the question that comes in is, who is responsible for cleaning up this mess? Now, this is where the idea of EPR, which is extended producer responsibility, comes in. And I'll take the example of the birthday party scenario to explain this. Because the real idea here is that if each guest, for example, let's say whosoever brings in the food or who brings in, let's say, the gifts, they step up and do their part, the burden to clean will get reduced on others. So it's a shared responsibility. It's a market-driven mechanism. Next slide, please. So the broad legal framework, the lawyer in me can say that there are broadly one major thing, which is the PWM rules, Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, of course, stemming up from the EP Act. The Schedule 2 of these rules is where the guidelines on EPR is placed. If tomorrow anyone asks you where in Indian law is the word EPR in the plastic waste regime defined, it's the Rule 3. Because as lawyers, we like to know where it's defined. So if you read the definition under the rules, it clearly says means the responsibility of a producer for environmentally sound management of the product until the end of its life. So the onus is on the producer who brings the waste in the ecosystem. Please note, EPR is primarily applicable to plastic packaging. So for example, if I am manufacturing a plastic toothbrush, the EPR is not getting attracted. But if I'm manufacturing a toothbrush and packaging it in a plastic package, the EPR triggers in. So that's the broad framework that we have. Next slide, please. Now, we are at the party, mess has happened. Now, who has to clean up the mess? Next slide, please. So these are the broad stakeholders. On the left, if you see, the first five are the ones who's bringing the mess. So producer, importers, brand owners. I'm not getting into the legal definition, but producers are basically manufacturers of plastic packaging. Then let's say I'm an importer. I'm importing a product which is wrapped in a plastic package. Brand owner is, let's say I am a shoe manufacturer, a brand owner who owns a shoe company. My shoes are packed in a plastic package. And then there are manufacturers, of course, divided between two. Now, and the last entity, which is the stakeholder is in green, is the plastic waste processor. Someone who is responsible to clean up the mess. So the first five do the mess, the sixth one cleans it up. Now, in the real world, it's the first five which are causing the plastic packaging pollution in the ecosystem. So they are the ones who are bringing it. Now, just like the rules of the party, if you're coming to my house, please register. So what's really happening here in the rules, the guidelines which are part of the rules is all of them have to register. because like we're talking about data, it's a very data centric game here. So all of them have to register. Because the first five are creating and putting plastic packaging into the ecosystem, they have targets. So if you'll see, plastic waste processors don't have the targets, but the first five have targets. So they have to register. Who are supposed to register them? It's either the Central Pollution Control Board or the State Pollution Control Board, depending on where they're operating. Then there is annual reporting, because clearly, if we are not putting systems, we can't track it. Now, that's the real world scenario. Next slide, please. I'm trying to keep this fairly short. Now, like we saw in the previous slide, the first five stakeholders, the PIBOs, the producer importers, and the brand owners, primarily, they have targets to clean up. Now, think of it this way: there were guests in the party. Some of them had targets. Some had said like 30% of what you put in, some at 25% of what you put in. So these are targets that are very specific, and they have to ensure that they meet. Next slide, please. So, who generates these certificates? It's the plastic waste processor or the local authorities. I'll primarily keep the example of PWP, which is the plastic waste processor, here in my discussion. So, they are the ones who are collecting and processing the waste on behalf of the PIBOs. Now, what kind of there are categories of the certificates depending on. So there are five broad categories of the plastic in the rules, not getting too much into it. But so the certificates that are generated are category wise. They can be used. So who are the users? It's the PIBOs and the manufacturers who had an onus, the obligation. So everybody had the obligation to register, but the obligation for EPR targets was only on the first five. Now it's like that, okay, if I'm meeting the target, great. If I'm not able to meet my target, then I'm supposed to buy. It's like a very market driven approach. So the money is flowing from the person who's bringing the waste into the market. So if I, for example, is an importer and I am not able to complete my targets, then I'm supposed to shell out. Now someone else, let's say there's another importer who's brought more certificates, he can trade. It's more like a share trading that's happening. Now I ask myself a question: what's the price of it? So the EPR floor price, CPCB fixes it. There is a benchmark, there's an highest price and the lowest price. It's connected to the environmental compensation, which is differently calculated. But the highest price could be the 100% of the EC, the lowest price could be 30% of the EC. So the price shoots between this range. Next slide, please. Now, just like any other good game, we have referees here as well. So the pollution control board, both the central and the state pollution, they act as watchdogs. So they have to do audits, inspections. They have to ensure that the others are operating. Are they registering? They're not registering. How is the are they even doing recycling or not doing recycling? So we do have like any other good host keeps a check on the guest. We do have regulators keeping a check, and just as Shri Gopal mentioned, there is an element of fines and penalty. Next slide, please. Now, what if they don't do it? The para 9 of the guidelines provide for imposition of environmental compensation. Not getting too much into the details, but if you want to read more, para 9 is where you need to read. So there is the whole mechanism how an environmental compensation is calculated. If they're able to subsequently meet their obligations, a percentage of the environmental compensation that they paid can go back to them. The environmental compensation that's collected is kept in an account. It's used for predefined purposes. So the good part here is that if they don't do, there is an element of penalty. There is an element of pressure. Next slide, please. Now, what if someone cheats? Uh, I thought let's just go one step ahead. From what preliminary understanding and feel that we're looking at the judicial trend. Next slide, please. We do have beautiful EPR framework, of course, but generally the kind of issues that we're also seeing in practice is non-registration. So PIBOs we saw had to register. We do see that entities haven't even registered. Now, if you're not registering, clearly you do not even have an EPR obligation. uh, Fake certificates is an issue. It's also an issue in other areas of waste. So think of, I'm a waste processor. While registering myself, I said, my capacity is 50 million tons. At the end of the year, the system is showing that I've generated certificates worth, say, 100 million tons. So the input is equal to output is not matching. So the problem of fake certificates is also a massive problem. And annual reporting. So just as we saw in the table, all the entities are supposed to report. They're not reporting. Now that is also a usual trend. So this is a very preliminary. I'm not saying this with authority, but just the preliminary trends that we're seeing in the nature of cases that we're seeing in media, the kind of pleadings that are being filed. So broad kind of issues that I see personally before an NGT that's stemming up. With this, I'll end the presentation. Thank you.
Ashutosh, thank you so very much. And you have brought in the perspective, the legal perspective, in such a manner that is understood, that can be easily understood by everyone. So thank you for bringing this. And all the points that you have mentioned are very relevant and ask for the attention. Um, Thank you. Thank you for this very insightful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Um, so